My name is Greg Story. I'm the president of Carnegie Training here in Japan. Issues that face companies here about leadership include the biggie, how to take people up into the leadership cohort. They've got people who they want to step up into higher positions of responsibility, but they find that often they fail, or they find that they don't perform to expectations. When we investigate a little bit as to why that is, we often find that they're relying on-the-job training as the sole mechanism for educating people who've been producers who are now given the role of leader. And that makes a lot of sense that why that would fail, because on-the-job training by itself, by its very definition, is completely based around the concept that your current leader, the person doing the mentoring or doing the training or the coaching, is a competent leader themselves. And if that's not the case, and if you think about Japan, we've had the lost decade now in Japan, actually coming up to 3 decades of the lost decade, where there's been an underinvestment in training. So over the very, very long term, we've seen a bit of a break in where leaders would be trained to just relying solely on-the-job training. So over a couple of generations of leaders, the juice starts to run out. And if there was some good intellectual property there about how to be a good leader, it's gone, actually. So what we need to do is re-inject some fresh intellectual property, some fresh IP into how to be a good leader. And one of the issues when you're a producer is you're very competent. And then you become a leader and you discover, oh, actually, I don't know how to be a leader. And there are aspects of this job which I'm finding very, very difficult. And we usually promote people to leadership based on having some really core givens. One is technical expertise. They must have the knowledge of the business. They must have the technical expertise to do the job. That's very key. The other thing is performance. If they're in a revenue producing role and they're a very high level performer, then often they become the head of sales or the head of revenue or whatever that might be. So it's usually that high degree of technical knowledge or showing their producer capacity through their performance. Now, neither of those things are the same as being a leader. When you're a high level sports person, for example, sometimes you see high level sports people transition into becoming high level coaches. But often we see failures too, and that's because they're two different games. When you are a producer, when you are a high performer, you are in total control of what you are doing. You know how you work, you have the drive, you have the ambition, you have the discipline, you have all the things going for you inside you. When you're now placed in charge of other people, well, the first thing you learn is, hey, they're not like me. They're not as driven. They're not as ambitious. They're not as skilled. They're not as experienced, but they're still your team. And try and understand for new leaders that you can't keep on doing what you were doing before as a sole producer and sort of carry the whole team on your shoulders. Well, yes, you can do that, and often that's what these new leaders do. But there's a cut-off point there. For the first 2 or 3 years, that will work. However, the company targets just keep going like that. And at some point, your capacity personally to hold the team up and the target start to separate. And that gap gets bigger and bigger, and then you get fired because you aren't producing results. And the reason you're not producing results is because you're not using your whole team's capacity to get behind and produce results because you're doing it all. And it's a sort of self-perpetuating nightmare because as you realise the team are not like you and you feel I have to do all the work, then you don't delegate. You become incredibly time poor, so you don't coach. And so suddenly you're very stressed, and maybe that's affecting your mood, and your mood's bringing down the whole team, or you're very sharp with people because you're frustrated and you're getting pressure from above and you're passing it straight to the team. Now they're feeling sort of immobilised by the pressure as well, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. Ideally, what you would be able to do is realise, well, look, your previous job as a producer was to produce. Now your current job is to lead, and lead through the achievements of the whole team as a group with you directing them. That transition has to be made, and you need to have the time to coach people. That means being able to delegate, being a great time manager. Probably if you're a high producer, you're already a good time manager because you've managed to use your time effectively to be productive. But are your team good time managers? You need to educate them how to be good time managers. You need to guide them. You need to give them direction. Show them the why of what we're doing here. All of these communication pieces that you didn't have to worry about before. You didn't have to communicate with your team, yes, colleagues, yes, but you didn't have to guide them, inspire them, lead them, motivate them. Now, you need to communicate with them in a different way. And that's when you find, oh, I'm not a very good communicator, or I hate this. Standing up in front of people in meetings and talking, I don't like that. So here's the gap. Well, what do we do about closing that gap? Most companies, they do nothing. They do nothing. They just leave it as it is, wait 3 years, and then they fire the leader. And they get to put a new one in, wait another 3 years, fire that one. And then after a series of progressions of this, they look around and they go, geez, that's strange. Where's the successor generation to us, the senior executives? Well, you fired them all because you didn't develop them at the beginning. And then you're lost. Then you have to bring people in from outside. And then you go through a whole raft of motivation issues for those on the inside, different cultures from people coming from outside. They have to come in and learn the business, so there's a time delay, there's a lag. That's also a solution, but it's got a less than perfect aspect to it as well. Wouldn't it be better if you also had the capacity to develop your people all the way through, and there was a mechanism for doing that to short circuit and avoid all of these problems that come up? Well, there is, and that is called Step Up to Leadership program. The Step Up to Leadership program is a one-day training program, has 4 different modules where we go through all these issues about, what leading means rather than managing, how to be a great coach, how to motivate people through your communication, how to get people to deal with conflict and negativity and move the whole thing forward. This is the type of program you can send your people on, or we can bring it in-house. We do it in English, we do it in Japanese, and you will now give your new leader group the means of understanding and get the right mindset and the right approach about what they have to do to be successful as a leader, so they do continue and they don't get fired, and you don't have that breakdown in the succession planning in the company. So the details are in this video. Send your people to Step Up to Leadership, avoid the problems, prepare for the growth in the company, prepare the next generation, build your successors so you've got a nice smooth line all the way through. As your seniors begin to retire, you've got people coming up through the middle ranks to replace them. This is the time to do it. Grab this chance. Look forward to seeing your people on our next Step Up to Leadership program.